So let's dig in. This is a tiny little sneak preview as to what we're going to cover in today's webinar. One slide explainer. There are some new visualizations, but there's also a load of stuff that you can't see that's new in Dashboard Server 5.9 as well. And we're going to start by looking at some of that. So the first feature, which is not really a feature, but more support for something, is support within Dashboard Server for SCOM Managed Instance. This is in beta only at the moment, and the main reason for that is that SCOM Managed Instance itself is in beta, and so we can't commit to more than beta until we know what done is going to look like, to know if APIs and SDKs are going to change. But right now it is supported and it works, and there is documentation on our website as to how to use it. So a really important leap forward. We're evolving as SCOM is evolving as well. First feature that I want to show you is actually visual is this one. I'm very excited about this one because it enables a whole load of new possibilities. It's the date heat map visualization. Essentially, it lets you see a kind of calendar view with dates down the left-hand side and times across the top for alerts. It's also possible for SQL, PowerShell, and Web API, so you can hook it up to custom sources as well, which is really awesome. And why I'm particularly excited about this one is it lets you see patterns and trends. Obviously, as with all scopes, it can be scoped to whatever you want. So if you want to see only, I don't know, alerts that have been raised for the SQL group or whatever in your SCOM deployments, you can do that to be able to see trends. Now, these are real screenshots for my test lab, and we see a pattern here. At 4 in the morning, we see more heat, more alerts being resolved. And why is that? And more alerts being raised at 8 p.m. The reason for that is my lab is power managed. So this is when the VMs are automatically started up and shut down and things. So you get these patterns emerging. And I didn't even realize this was a thing myself until I used the date heat map. It should be really awesome to get to kind of root cause for things. I'll obviously give you a demo of it in a minute. Also, as I said earlier, possible for SQL, for Web API, and PowerShell as well. So an example when used with SQL, this is a query string in here in the resultant date heat map. Very, very cool feature. Very, very excited to show this one off. Then we have, moving on, personal dashboards. So historically, you had to have the author permission over a team folder to have the permissions over to modify dashboards within that team folder. And that works for most people. But there are a number of our customers that have been in touch and have said, yes, that's cool, but what we really want is for troubleshooting purposes to give anyone that logs into Dashboard Server, even if they've just got a read-only account, to have the ability to modify their own dashboards, but not publish them. Well, good news, in 5.9, this is now possible. And so I'm going to break my slides and show you this stuff in reality with a quick demo, and then we'll go back to slides and go through some more features. So if I go to my demo, this is obviously Dashboard Server 5.9. And if I just go to webinar out of the way, this is the first dashboard I want to work with. We're going to pop this into edit mode, and we're going to have a look at the date heat map tiles, which I'd screenshotted to give you a feel for how these kind of work. If I go onto the edit of one of these tiles, this one here, for example, it's of tile date heat map, and I have this scoped to my Windows Server computer group. As with all our tiles, there are filtering options available, so you can choose to filter out the informational SCOM alerts, for example, only if you only want to see the errors and warnings, or filter on priority or source, or any of these bits and pieces, which gives you granularity over what is displayed in the tile. Then we specify the time frame. By default, this is a 30-day time frame, but you can use page time frame or also specify a custom time frame. You'll then ask for a date property. So you might want to see when alerts were resolved, or raised is the most common one, or last modified is also possible in the below visualization. Then in the display option, you get to pick between circles and squares if you want to see circles rather than squares in the below. You've got a toggle as to whether you hide weekends or not. You can see that if they're shown as sort of grayed out, and also the ability to hide empty days. So you can see that the weekends here are displayed in a light grey color. Also, you could choose to hide weekdays if you only want to see weekends, which is what I've got configured on this date heat map tile on the right-hand side. That is possible. We've got our color selection here, our color palette choice. The same conventions as for all of our heat map tiles apply to the date heat map as well. So the lighter the color, the more alerts. And then on date range, we've got percentage, fit to date, all the sort of standard options you would get with other tiles of this ilk. And the other really important thing to know and to see when looking at this visualization is this. When I hover over one of these squares, I get information like how many alerts there are. So in this case, we're looking at 3 events occurring between the date and time range that this square represents. And obviously, as with everything in Dashboard Server, I can click in and I can drill down to see the details. So these are the specific alerts that were raised within that time period. Really useful, really, really awesome. One thing to say about this particular tenant and deployment that I'm on and user account is I'm logged in with a read-only account. So I have no permissions over this dashboard to actually make changes and publish them. If I go back into the edit mode, you can see I've got unpublished changes that I can't publish because it's grayed out because I'm a read-only user. I haven't got permissions over this. I'm able to make changes for myself locally, which is one of the pieces of the personal dashboards feature. But also you'll see with this read-only account, I have a plus button up here, so I can create a new dashboard just for me. And I'll give this a name, personal dashboard. Oops, helps if I could spell. And we'll put a tile on here just to prove this is real. Let's have a date heat map. Why not? Because we've been talking about it. Just for the simplicity of having a tile on there, I'm not going to configure this one. I'm going to accept the defaults. As you can see, no publish is available. If I take it out of edit mode, it exists and it persists. I can click away from it. I click back to it and it still exists, it's still available. This is a very similar experience to draft dashboards. So for this user, and only for this user, this personal dashboard will show up. Really, really useful feature, and it's been requested a number of times by our customers. I'm going to pop back over to slides now and keep going through the cool new features. So the next thing to show you is the vertical bar graph, which looks a little bit like this. It's very similar to our existing top end bar. In fact, it's the same, except for rather than being displayed horizontally, it's displayed vertically, which is quite useful for you have lots of items and you don't just want to filter to a top subset of what's possible. So a top 10, for example, as in this case, which I'm showing disk space free for. It's a perfect example of this. I've also got my conditional formatting, my conditional colors on here as well. So I've highlighted disks that have particularly low disk space in red and ones with lots of space in green. This is the why we were asked for this feature in the first place. I'll show you how this works in just a second. Then we have the ability to copy and paste tiles. So this was kind of possible before, but it wasn't exactly easy. You could copy a whole dashboard and hack out everything else you didn't want. You could copy and paste the JSON for a specific tile by going into the JSON editor and copying and pasting the JSON itself. But in 5.9, we have the ability to copy a tile, which uses your local clipboard functionality, which could then be pasted. So this is really awesome because this will let you paste not just within the same dashboard, but because it uses your local clipboard, you could paste between dashboards, or in theory, between squared up dashboard server instances, which is super, super useful and should speed up the job of authoring new dashboards, or for those cases where you need to make slight tweaks to an existing tile without breaking the existing one. I'll show you this in just a second too. We then have the ability to set home and favorite dashboards. So there's a button to set home dashboards. When this is clicked, rather than being taken to the default getting started page, or when you click the squared up logo over here, you are shown your home dashboard. Really awesome feature. predicting a potential question that I will get in a second. This is set on a per user basis, and it's not possible to be set by an administrator at the stage. If you'd like to see that, please do let me know along with the full use case for it, and we will consider it for a future release. In addition to that, we have the ability to set favorites. This is really useful for when you have a busy SCOM deployment with hundreds of dashboards, which are owned by multiple teams, and you're interested in a subset only. So you get the ability to set a favorite dashboard or selection of favorite dashboards more likely. Really useful for those busy SCOM deployments. Let's dig into another demo now. Let me go back to my dashboard server instance. So if you remember from a second ago, we just built this personal dashboard. Let's say for whatever reason, this is very, very critical to my business and we want this to be a favorite dashboard. I click the star and you can see star is now illuminated, and you also see we have a star menu up here. The star menu shows other dashboards I favorited, in this case, my dashboard server 5.9 dashboard, but also my personal dashboard. Obviously, if I untoggle that, it goes away again. Home dashboard's kind of similar. So this is the default home dashboard you get, which is pretty much a getting started page that tells you how you get started. But let's say that we want to set, I don't know, my dashboard server 5.9 webinar dashboard to be this user's personal home screen, home dashboard. I would just come in here and click set home dashboard. You're asked, you're shown the fact that you have not got one set, and you can set one as a home dashboard. And if I go to the home dashboard location, ta-da, I'm redirected to this dashboard. If you're on another dashboard, going back to my personal dashboard, and you'd like to override my home dashboard, you would come in here and set home dashboard. And you're told you already have one set, would you like to replace it? And you can select yes or no, and you can also clear the home dashboard. So that's really useful, and as I say, that's on a per user basis. The other thing I said I'd show you is, if I go back to this style, is my horizontal and vertical bar chart functionality. So this is what you already have in the top end bar chart. If I put this dashboard in edit mode and edit this tile, here we are. This is my top end bar. And this is essentially an additional display setting on that additional top end bar chart. So if I come in here, I have the ability to check vertical now. So to like nicely illustrate the use case for this, I have to scroll if I want to get all of these bars on screen at once. If I click vertical like this, you can see they all fit on nicely. And I can adjust the bar width as I can with my horizontal bar to fit all the bars onto my dashboard and make it look pretty. I've also used, this is not a new feature, but it's a cool use in conjunction. I've used the conditional custom colors here to highlight the bars based on how much, again, disk space is my use case here, free disk space I have available. So essentially here, anything that is below 20%, I've highlighted in red. This is our real internal dev lab, so we have some work to do here. Although I'm torn about whether we actually do the work, because it makes for a nice demo to have some red in here too. I have some amber between 20 and 50, and then the rest are green, which is where I want them all to be. So another cool feature from the team in Dashboard Server 5.9. Back to slides now. So for those of you who are familiar and aware of EAMX, we've been working on a tighter integration with Squared Up Cloud for the EAMX edition. If you're not familiar with what EAMX is, I will cover that in just a second. But for a second, let's assume you are familiar with this. What we've done is we have made it easier to get set up with our Squared Up Cloud Management Pack, which pulls objects from our cloud products down into Dashboard Server, so you can see their health alongside other things that you already have with a native SCOM management pack. And this is by virtue of an additional tile, which I'm going to show you now. Going back to my demo, let's go to this one, and let's pop this dashboard in edit mode. We'll pop on here a new tile, and I'm going to go to configure tile, obviously. Before we actually get into showing this feature, one thing that those of you who are keen-eyed will notice is we've simplified this menu here. We used to have a large list of tiles for integrations if you have the right edition, essentially. So this is things like PowerShell and Web API. The list was getting quite long, and if you had a screen with a lower resolution, it would wrap onto 2 rows and it was starting to get a bit messy. So what we've done is we've hidden integrations under this integrations button here, which you click and you see all the integrations that you already know and love, essentially, Web API, your PowerShell, Azure, etc. But we also have this More button, which is where our getting started with Squared Up Cloud enhancements have gone. So if we click this, we will detect whether the Squared Up Cloud Management Pack is detected. If it's not detected, we'll give you information on how to get going, where to find it, all of that kind of stuff. And where it is detected, we help you get started by importing the dashboard pack that comes with the management pack, so you get a better understanding for what is in management pack and what it can do. I have the existing version of these dashboard packs imported into my lab already, which look like this at the moment. So you can see the health of workspaces, dashboards, and tiles. More on this and what's coming in this area in a second when I jump back to my slides, because there are some enhancements coming to our Squared Up Cloud Management Pack integration as part of VEMX, but they are not shipping right now, as is customary around the release candidate milestone. They will be shipping around GA, and that's because we're still polishing. Essentially, we're still working on making sure that everything works as expected. And these changes will obviously require a management pack upgrade, which should just be an in-place one. And the enhancements that we've made allow you to pull in the health of your Squared Up Cloud scopes. We have more relationships between the objects that SCOM discovers, which makes it easier to traverse them when you're clicking around them in Dashboard Server. But the most important update here is this one, the ability to discover Squared Up Cloud objects. Now, this is a really important change and a really important feature. Obviously, this lets you discover objects from Squared Up Cloud and show the health of those objects, which is really, really vital. And it's enabled by default when you import the management pack for all of your manually created scopes. So what does this mean in practice? I haven't got a demo of this one because, like I say, we're still applying polish, but I'm going to illustrate the point with a couple of screenshots now. So this is a screenshot of Squared Up Cloud, and this is a dashboard for VMware, which is one of the many plugins that exists for Squared Up Cloud. There are over 60, and we're working on the list all of the time. And this is a dashboard showing me VMs by their health, essentially. In previous versions, you would have been able to see some of these things, but not all of these things. We're going to zoom into what's new. So I'm going to shifty this screenshot over to the side and start to expose the SCOM object model from 5.8, and I'm going to explain what we've added. So in 5.8, all of this was possible. You could pull in an object for your workspace, you could pull in an object for your dashboards and for your tiles, and there would be relationships between them. So in the case of this example, my workspace, my dashboard, and these 2 tiles, which are the 2 that have health, would be red, essentially. But look at this, my all virtual machines tile contains a load of objects, absolutely loads of them. In fact, as we can see here, more than 45. I haven't hovered over the error block. I guess there's 1 from looking at this, so 46 in total. So I wouldn't actually be able to see which virtual machine was red. And that's a problem because I don't care that one of my virtual machines is red. I care which virtual machine is red. And that's the difference. So we have enabled the ability to discover scopes and their state. So in this case, my scope is here, VMware virtual machine scope, which will contain all the virtual machines, but also there's an object for each one of these virtual machines that has health, which means you'll be able to have an object for Elastic, which is our red virtual machine. And this is vital because when you have this, you can click through into Squared Up Cloud to look at the details on that object to figure out why it's red. Obviously, everything we pull into into SCOM and display in Dashboard Server, you can click and can drill down into, so you can get to the details you need to be able to figure out why this thing is red. So really, really important change for EAMX and for our Squared Up Cloud MP. As I say, no demos right now, but expect to see this around the GA timeframe. A big important change for EAMX. Oh yeah, I forgot I highlighted this square. I've already explained what I've done here. Another thing just to say about EAMX is we're always working on making it better. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 60 plugins made possible with connecting your Dashboard Server instance to cloud. And some of these are new and improved since last time I did a webinar. So SolarWinds and our VMware plugin have been improved recently to expose more object types and to be able to do more with those. Web API is possible today, but we're working on enhancements in a number of these areas. In the case of Web API, one of those things we're working on is the ability to import objects via Web API into Squared Up Cloud, which means you will be able to connect to literally anything that supports a Web API, pull in objects into Squared Up Cloud, and then pull those same objects into Dashboard Server with EAMX. So we're always adding to the value you get. That said, for those of you who aren't aware of what EAMX is, I'll give you a quick explainer as to what it is. This is hopefully not going to be new to most, but bear with if you know this already. So Squared Up actually has two different, entirely different versions and lineups. We have Squared Up Cloud product and we have Squared Up Dashboard Server. Squared Up Dashboard Server has a few editions, the Azure edition, the SCOM edition, and Community edition. But we're talking here specifically about the SCOM edition and the Cloud Squared Up Cloud product. So the Squared Up Cloud product is, as you would guess, it's cloud hosted. I've already mentioned the large number of plugins, over 60 plugins available for cloud. And what's really key about this is rather than pull all of the data from where it lives, we leave the data where it is. We just link to that data and store metadata in our knowledge graph, which is really, really cool and is really, really valuable. But we accept that our Dashboard Server edition for SCOM is just awesome for SCOM. It goes way deeper than any other dashboarding tool out there for SCOM. And so EAMX is our way of bridging these two worlds by letting you leverage all of the objects and health that you can pull into Squared Up Cloud with our Squared Up Cloud management pack to pull through into SCOM objects and their health, which is why the object health I was just showing you as an enhancement in the 5.9 edition is super, super valuable. And also just to say on cloud, we're always making it better. And I really personally want to hear what you want to hear us plug in to next, essentially. If you go to feedback.squaredup.com, you will see our public feedback board and roadmap for plugins. So there are a whole bunch that we're working on right now and that we're actually actively planning. And what goes into our engineering team, which is my engineering team for plugins, is driven by your feedback. So if there is a tool that you would like for us to plug into, go to feedback.squaredup.com, tell us about it, and then with EAMX, obviously you will get all of those objects and the health in Dashboard Server as well. Obviously, I'm also the product manager for Dashboard Server, and I'm equally interested in your feedback on Dashboard Server as well. My email address is fairly guessable, but it's bruce.cullen@squaredup.com. So do feel free to email me with anything you would like to see in Dashboard Server or in cloud on the plugins front, because your feedback matters. There's no point in us building a product that nobody wants at the end of the day, so your feedback is vital. So all that's left to say is that Dashboard Server 5.9 is available today in release candidate form. If you go to download.squaredup.com, it is available there. And all of the features that I have shown you are available in the Teams and EAM edition. And for EAMX, you also get the EAMX specific functionality. As always with release candidates, we will give you priority support. So if you have any issues, because it's a release candidate, we'll prioritize your tickets. And we recommend that you do an in-place upgrade as with previous releases from 5.8 and before to this version. So pending feedback from you on everything that we've shown so far. When you get your hands on the release candidates, we're planning our general availability of 5.9 for the late May timeframe. Think Scon-a-thon aligned, just a hint, but obviously it will be based on feedback. So that's all there really is to show you, except to say I look forward to hearing from you as far as your feedback is concerned. Thank you very much, and yes, see you all again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.